Hi, today I'm going to review the Amazon Basics 12-sheet shredder. It's a nicely designed product that I just got yesterday. I've been trying it out. Really like the way it works, with a few caveats. First, I want to show you the unit itself. As you can see, it's got this little front piece here that pushes up. It acts as a guard to keep it from sticking your hands in here. Kind of nice, but also kind of makes it a little more difficult to shred things because you have to feed them in at an angle. As you can see here, we've got the standard Ford Auto, which I believe uses a sensor on the actual unit itself, like a electric eye, to feed the paper instead of a switch like some of my other shredders have had. Also has, you can hear the reverse. There's also some handy lights here. Overheat, overload, misaligned, and auto. Overheat's obvious. Overload, I believe, is if you've added too many sheets. Misaligned is when you pulled the shredder off the trash can or the bin that the shred pieces fall into. The misaligned light will come on and show you that you need to reset the shredder itself on the bin before it'll work. Again, it says 12-sheet capacity. I've read reviews online that say, please do not put 12 sheets in there, that it will jam up the shredder, and since I toasted my last one, I'm going to keep it to about 4 or 5 sheets. That's what I normally shredded with my old one, and it seemed to work fine. Also has a CD slot or DVD slot for shredding data, or I guess any CD really you want to put in there. This also works really well, shreds it into 4 separate pieces, and really it's neat functionality. I'm not sure that I'll ever use it except for some stuff that I have where it's just not working anymore. Shred it to keep people from swiping it, although I'm really have no data use for it. So, but it is handy to have on there. And of course, you can stick a credit card in there, as you can see here. Standard warnings on the front: don't put your hands, tie, screwdriver, looks like oil, small children, necklaces, all sorts of stuff. So just be careful, as with any shredder. Keep it away from small children and make sure your adult children understand how to use it. It has a risk of fire if you spray oils or lubricants into it. So be careful what you use there. They do sell lubricating oils and things for the shredders that you can buy on Amazon, and the booklet tells you how to use that properly. Alright, let's go ahead and try the first sheet of paper. I'll show you, this is just junk mail from my mortgage company. I blacked out my information. Put it in here. It is loud, but not as loud as some shredders I've seen. The last one that I replaced was a Fellows shredder, was certainly a lot louder than this. Okay, as you can see, there are finely shredded pieces in here. This is a crosscut shredder, so you get a little finer pieces than a strip shredder would give you, which strip shredders typically just strip the paper into several even sections, the length of the paper that you've inserted into it. I've found that this shredder is a little thicker than I might like. If I measure the pieces, it's not so much the length of them, which is about maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches, but the width. I don't know if you can see this here, but as you can see, it's probably about maybe half the width of a pinky, and that can allow some personal information to come through if you're not careful on how you shred it. For most people, it's not going to be a big deal. For my purposes, not a big deal. Typically, if there's anything like Social Security numbers or credit card numbers, I tend to just take an extra level of caution and blot that information out with a marker or something. But for just shredding receipts and stuff, this is perfectly fine. Okay, one more thing I will show you is the CD DVD shredding capability. Good for destroying data CDs, that One Direction CD you don't want your daughter to listen to, or anything you have out there in CD shape, CD form. Really not that useful to me. It's nice to have on here. Good for shredding data discs. Show you how that works. This is an old washed up CD that I found downstairs. And as you can can see, it makes pretty quiet work of that. Okay, and if we look inside the shred bin, this is exactly how it cut and fell into the bin. There are 4 separate pieces, and does a pretty good job of destroying the CD or DVD. You can stick these pieces back in the slot, although probably not recommended, I would guess. But as you can see, it's torn up pretty well. Sometimes the layers separate, especially on the DVDs, and does a pretty good fine cut through it, and destroys the CD layer pretty well. Pretty secure, it seems like. Does a pretty good job. Not sure how often I will use this, but it is good to see that it's on there and might come in handy for some people. Another thing I've noticed is that the shredder itself, I just pulled this off of the top, does appear to clear itself pretty well when it's shredding. The previous shredder that I just got rid of, a fellow shredder that burned out, a lot of these pieces would get stuck to it, and I'm not sure if that was a function of time, but it did seem like there's a lot of shredder pieces that would get stuck, and then when I'd pull the bin off, they'd fall everywhere, making cleanup a little more difficult. It really didn't impact the shredding, but there was a lot of difficult cleanup because of it. Could have been, again, just because the age of the shredder, or perhaps residue from having too much shredded at one time, but this one so far has done a good job of cleaning itself, and when you take the lid off, you don't get pieces of shred everywhere on the floor, which can be annoying. So to recap, the Amazon Basics 12-sheet crosscut shredder does a great job on shredding paper. Has a nice safety guard here, which I have heard some complaints that it does lead to some jams, and I would imagine that's if you fill it with, probably if you get up to that 12-sheet limit, you might see some jams. I've seen that with other shredders I've had, so you may want to go safe and just shred about half that at most. Does a good job of shredding CDs, as I've shown, and is loud, but not as loud as any other shredder I've owned. I think it's kind of hard to do that job, especially in this price range, quietly. Has a nice large bin, and does appear to distribute itself well, but as always with shredders, you give it a little shake and get a nice distribution there. Dumps out easily, pretty clean shredding, and cleans itself pretty well, so you're not going to get a lot of little shred pieces on the floor when you take the lid off of the shredder. Overall, like it at $49.99, currently on Amazon. It's a great deal, and should be good for all of your basic personal shredding needs. Thank you for taking the time to watch my review.